off and running on a Monday, and my goodness, is it a Monday? It's a freaking Monday. All right, I was all set to start on time here inside the vault on the 9th of June, and for whatever reason, the stream did not fire off, so apologies for my tardiness today. It is a big day because we are now working as of today with Baltimore County Golf, our newest sponsor and our first ever golf sponsor, which you already know, you guys know. That follow the program. You know I'm fired up about that. So special thanks to Baltimore County Golf. I'm Bobby Trossett. Sarah Ellison continues her incredible vacation. She's actually been posting about it on Twitter or X, so go check her out. She and her daughter London are really, by all accounts, are having a fantastic start to their vacation. I have no idea what's going on with the stream today. Hopefully you can see me. Hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully you guys have had a fantastic weekend and that your Mondays are off to a better start than the logistics of this program. But on your way in, if you could like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. I'd appreciate it. We have over 600 channel members, aka Voltrons and counting. We hit that number last week. Perhaps 700 is in the cards today or at some point this week. Here's what I got for you. Jon Gruden, former Super Bowl winning NFL head coach, joined John Harbaugh and the Ravens at last week's OTAs. He was hysterical. He was himself. He analyzed the living you-know-what out of the team, and he also sat down with Cliff Brown and Garrett Downing on the Ravens team podcast, The Lounge. That was released earlier today. I've got some clips. His comments on Lamar Jackson, Pat Ricard, John Harbaugh's staff, the biggest questions that remain for the Ravens right now, and I think you'll appreciate his insights. I know I sure did. And aside from that, I'm not sure if you've seen the news, but of course, Jaire Alexander has been made available. He's going to be set to be released by 4 o'clock Eastern later this afternoon by the Green Bay Packers. And being that he and Lamar played at Louisville together and have what looks to be a friendship that has not wavered whatsoever since their college days, it's a story. And it's also a story because when healthy, which has not been often, he is one of the best cover corners league-wide. Rashad Bateman, a surprising report at the end of last week after we finished up and the weekend began, that kind of got his extension done in Baltimore. Offseason workouts for both Bate and Zay down in South Florida to get to. And, yeah, needless to say, we've got a lot of content. Special thanks to Baltimore County Golf for sponsoring this episode, and a special thanks to all of you for joining me here today on the 9th of June. Let's get into the content. We'll begin with Coach Gruden and his high praise for Lamar Jackson.
Good. You know, you can run any play you can dream up, anything, and he can do it. And you can block everybody perfectly and enjoy great execution, and you can miss every block and still enjoy great execution. He's an unbelievable game day performer. He's an Iceman. The big moments are his moments. He can win in the pocket. He can tear you up. And if he takes off outside the pocket, God help you. He's a legitimate superstar. He's the top of the food chain in the NFL. And I'm sorry I missed him on this trip, but I did get a chance to talk to him. And I told him T. Martin's a lot better coach when he's out there practicing.
He's the top of the food chain in the NFL, deserving high praise from a former Super Bowl winning head coach in Jon Gruden about Baltimore's franchise face, franchise leader, and franchise quarterback. There he is in selfie form with Coach Harbaugh. He said Austin's spending a few days in Baltimore with Coach and the Ravens. And Jon talked about just his presence. That is Coach Gruden's presence while in Baltimore. And that is something that should have been pulled in. But when all the good stuff happened prior to the show was... Take a look. Amazing. Thank you guys for the patience today. So that's how it's going to go, huh? That's how it's going to go today on this Monday. Goodness. He studied our team and gave us a lot of insight. Obviously, part of the quote that I was trying to get for you in video form, but these two have maintained a relationship. It's pretty obvious. They've spent time together down in the Tampa area. last offseason, Harbaugh brought Monken down there, George Godsey, the tight ends coach. And being that Coach Gruden, I think, for my money, I'd have to think that Gruden at some point here soon is not going to be on the outside looking in when it comes to employment. I was surprised that this past NFL's head coaching cycle passed him by. I think that next year he'll be a coveted candidate to get back into it. Obviously, the last several years he's been really in the last year or so, he's kind of gotten his media career started. He's launched that. He's become a star really overnight. And I would think that he wants to get back into coaching before all is said and done. He feels like he's got more left to prove. So we'll see next year's hiring cycle. But, I think the big picture here is that when you bring someone in, the offensive mind that is Jon Gruden, to watch your operation, to have a front row seat to your operation for a couple days in the middle of June, right? Early June. What negative can come from that? He's a football savant. He's a creative offensive mind. He's a Super Bowl champion winning head coach. And he's coming in talking awfully lofty, high praise for your operation. You heard what he had to say about Lamar, the top of the food chain. What about the guy who typically leads the top of the gridiron when it comes to creating space and opening up opportunities for the playmakers? That's Pat Ricard, the former undrafted rookie out of Maine. I was going back and forth with him over Instagram DMs earlier this morning because of this clip. And Pat told me, man, he said every one of these words to me in my face, and it was awesome. He's got a lot of respect for Jon Gruden, and my, oh my, is that mutual. Listen to Jon Gruden rant about Pat Ricard.
I met my number one Gruden grinder, and I've named the Gruden grinder the Pat Ricard Award. I'm going to hand out a trophy that looks like a block of Pat Ricard. I don't think anybody realizes what this guy does. I call him the straw man, and I would appreciate if you guys refer to Pat Ricard as the straw man. Here's the straw that stirs the drink for this Raven offense. I mean, the two tight ends, Likely and Andrews, 17 touchdowns. Derrick Henry, 1,900 yards rushing. Lamar has 4,500 yards passing and 1,000 rushing. But when you watch it carefully, Ricard is the lead blocker on the isolation for Derrick Henry. He kicks out on the power play. He pass protects against Myles Garrett on some of these play action passes. He cross sifts. I mean, he should be considered in the Ring of Honor. He's a Marshall Yonda type badass. I love him. And he is the straw man.
I can't say anything else off that.
I'm telling you, I'm going to do a cut up on him, and I'm going to try to make sure everybody votes for him into the Pro Bowl. For him to not be a Pro Bowl fullback, it's a crime of the century. It's not even close. But I love meeting him today, and I'm going to continue to preach his praises.
Has there ever been a better clip for Pat Ricard's job security? You got Jon Gruden comparing you to the great and future Hall of Famer Marshall Yonda, right? A badass to the level of the great Marshall Yonda. Somebody that is a no-brainer Pro Bowl candidate and an honoree every single year if for Jon Gruden's money. He wants Pat Ricard in the Ring of Honor. He's singing his praises and then some. If I'm Pat Ricard, I'm watching that clip and I'm thinking to myself, man, if I'm ever out of a job, whether it's in the middle of my football career, after my football career, whatever he goes on to do, because I know him, he's going to want to stay busy. He is a family man. He's got a couple kids. I'm taking that clip to the bank with me. And I'm not talking about M&T Bank Stadium. I'm taking that clip and ensuring that thing is seen and heard and viewed by anybody who's somebody that might have an opportunity for employment for me, to give me employment for future purposes. That's hysterical. Here they are at one winning drive together. John's tweet that was attached to the photo. Pat Ricard, 42. I call him the straw man, as he did in that clip, courtesy of the Lounge. He handles the C-gap on the line of scrimmage. He pass protects for Lamar and lead blocks for Derrick Henry. He's the straw that stirs the drink. I love him. Oh my, do I love that clip. That is one of my all-time favorite clips when it comes to covering Ravens football. Because I love Pat. I consider him a friend. I love what he does for the Ravens offense. I love the undrafted chip that he's always carried on his shoulder. And I love Jon Gruden. And that was quite a start to a Monday live stream. Jon Gruden on Pat Ricard saying that he should be in the Ravens Ring of Honor, comparing him to the great Marshall Yanda in terms of badass level, perennial Pro Bowler, and then, of course, referring to Lamar, what we all know, right, is certainly a guy that's at the top of the food chain when it comes to quarterbacks in the National Football League. That's not all Coach Gruden had to say. By the way, he did confirm that not only is Pat Ricard one of his Gruden grinders, but Tyler Linderbaum, Marlon Humphrey, and Tylan Wallace all make his top 4. And for those who used to watch Monday Night Football, Jon Gruden and Mike Tirico in the broadcast booth, I'm sure you'll remember that awesome segment and the phrase Gruden grinder. It's a great list to be on. I know Tylan was appreciative of it based on his tweet. Marlon Humphrey, Tyler Linderbaum, guys that are just blue collar, put your head down and go to work. And in Pat's case, perhaps the most relevant of any of his Gruden grinders, being that Jon wants to rename the award after Pat. Well, one thing Pat has always done is trench work, right? A willingness to help this team win. And being that he is entering a contract season along with the entire tight end room, you got to think that I'm sure at times his mind creeps and wanders into that mode of, could this be it? Not in the NFL, but could this be it in Baltimore? How much longer will they continue to invest in the fullback position? The hope is that they continue to, because his impact knows no bounds. And I know Jon Gruden certainly spent quite a bit of time in this interview and over the years in his coverage of calling that out for exactly what it is. It is highly, highly valuable. That's what Pat Ricard is. He's a valuable piece to what this team does. Now, what this team hasn't been able to do as of yet throughout the Lamar era is get over the hump in the month of January. We've all watched it. We're all familiar with it. And it's been exhausted, right? The topic itself has been exhausted, all resources. But I thought Jon's take was pretty refreshing when Garrett asked him, hey, how does this team get over the hump? And while some can point to, coming up big instead of small in crucial, pivotal moments, some can say, hey, they turn the ball over too much. All these things are true, by the way. They don't wreak havoc enough, and which leads to forcing turnovers as a defense, right? So on and so forth. You can go everywhere you want into the dissection process of what's led to them coming up short in the month of January. But Jon, he just cut right to the point. Listen to it.
I think we stay in shallow water. We don't overthink this. They were good enough to win the Super Bowl last year. We don't need to be deep and philosophical and come up with 48 reasons or 48 motivational tactics. Just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep doing what you're doing, and great things will be in store. Stay healthy, take care of each other in training camp, knock people's ass off when the games start, and take care of the football, take care of number 8. And I'll tell you, I was really impressed with your new kicker today, too.
Yeah.
I know he's got big shoes to fill, but the young man hit some pressure kicks today, and there was no doubt about him.
I think one of them was 60 yards.
Yeah, I mean, where do they find these players? It's a credit to the whole operation, the scouting department, the coaching staff, the way they develop players. The best player I got was Darren Waller, and I stole him off your practice squad.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm a big Raven fan.
We all remember that story, and then literally the rules changed, right? The Ravens changed their operation because of Jon Gruden checking out Darren Waller, that practice squad player that was popping off tape, and he was watching them in Baltimore, and next thing you know, he plucks him. Darren Waller goes on to have a pretty darn successful career prior to retirement in the last year or so. But the refreshing take there was at the beginning, right? It's like, look, just keep doing what you're doing. And in a lot of ways, given the personnel, given what they have, given the way this team is constructed, both staff and player personnel wise, yeah, you do kind of think that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It has been relatively broken at times in small sample sizes in the month of January. But do you really want to kind of reinvent the wheel? Do you really want to blow this thing up when you have proven time and time again that you can run train through the regular season? It's just got to be converted on and successfully transition to the month of January. I think they can do it. And I don't think that anything has to change in terms of the logistical structure of the way this organization is built. It is between the ears. It is execution. It is pressure management and everything else in between. I thought it was a refreshing interview from Jon Gruden. And as complete as this team is structurally, there are still questions. And a lot of the questions that we have about this current team, while they are minor, are also shared by Coach Gruden. Listen to this.
Questions they have to answer. They've got to figure out who's the other linebacker next to Roquan. Mm-hmm. Is it going to be Simpson? Mm-hmm. He's got to go out and prove that he's the man, and that'll be interesting. Who's going to be the corner opposite Wiggins?
Yeah,
they have some competition there. Stevens left.
Yeah,
they've got to answer that question. Who's the third defensive tackle? That's what I want to find out. When Travis Jones comes out of the game, who's going to come in there and take some critical snaps? And can the kicker do it in cold weather when he has to, like these Stover did and Tucker did for so many years? But I have no doubt in him. I have a lot of confidence this is going to be one hell of a football team.
That from Jon Gruden. Again, a lot of the questions that we've been chatting about, I would say most relevant at the top of my mind is who's going to be Roquan Smith's running mate. Will Trenton Simpson rise to the occasion, or will Teddy Buchanan, the rookie out of Cal, start to compete and open that up for debate over the course of the next couple months? Mandatory minicamp right around the corner. OTAs, by the way, another session of Ravens organized team activities gets underway today. There will be a 2:30 press conference, as there will be most days this week. So we'll have a lot of content to discuss here inside the vault. I would highly recommend you go check out that full conversation with Coach Jon Gruden. It's courtesy of the lounge, and I hope you guys appreciated that. Jaire Alexander on the way. You already know we're going to be discussing it in just a bit. But before we do, this episode is brought to you by our friends and our newest sponsor. And you guys know me, out of all people, are fired up. And I know Sarah is as well. She may not be an avid golfer or an avid fan of the game in terms of watching coverage. It's U.S. Open week, by the way. She's still in Switzerland, so she may not be able to. She's not going to be watching. But anyway, we're both fired up about this partnership. It's Baltimore County Golf. And, man, having played every single one of these courses over the years in the Baltimore area that's owned by the Baltimore County Golf Group, I can vouch. I can absolutely vouch. They operate Greystone, The Woodlands, Diamond Ridge, Fox Hollow, and Rocky Point. Okay? Full operation, full ownership. You play more, you pay less. That's what Baltimore County Golf's all about. You can grab a 3-pack of lessons from a Baltimore County Golf teaching professional near you. You can start playing more today. Fox Hollow Training Center, by the way, offers special clinics all summer long that introduce you to the game of golf and get you comfortable on the golf course. And how about this? If you sign up for the Advantage card, right, you got that itch like I do. I played this past weekend in Westchester County, by the way, New York, place called Hudson Hills. Beautiful spot. Was striping early off the tee. Then it started, once the transfusion started being sipped on, things went south quickly. But God, do I love this game. $40. This is what $40 is going to get you if you sign up for the Advantage card. Okay. Greens fee and golf shop discounts. 16-day advanced tee time reservations. You know, the game is just rabid these days, especially in the Baltimore area, that tee times can be hard to come by. $20 in coupons. Access to twilight times, that is. So access to twilight times, late afternoon, 1 hour earlier than the general public. And loyalty rewards points on everything from greens fees to food and beverage. You can go to BaltimoreGolfing.com to learn more. All the details are there for you. You can click on the link that's included in the pinned comment right now in the live chat. That's also at the top of the show notes. Guys, when you support our brand sponsors, you're supporting the show. And I'm fired up about this one selfishly because I love the game. But I also think that we're going to have a lot of deals coming up here, a lot of little incentives and perks with this partnership that you might appreciate as a golf fan yourself. Giveaways, other prizes. So be on the lookout for those in the coming weeks. We're pleased to be with Baltimore County Golf, and I would love for you guys to go check them out if you haven't already done so. Super chats and gifts before we get into the Jaire Alexander conversation. And as promised, I don't know what was going on. Again, very strange stuff was going on prior to this stream. I fired off the show, and I was ready to start at 12:01. And for whatever reason, the show started, but YouTube never fired off and Twitter never fired off. So I made sure to screenshot the first two Super Chat gift givers, okay? Super Chat donors, if you will, that came in prior to all of that going on. So Sod Blitz got us started at 12:05 earlier this afternoon, and he wrote, Alexander can be got for cheap. Green Bay's paying 17 M's. Appreciate you, Sod. We'll get to that in just a bit. It's a nice segue. Douglas H. Brown Sr. says, we are here to help you carry the load, Bobby, while Sarah's off. Sorry I missed Friday. Much love to the flock. Thank you both for getting things started. We hit the 600 number last week in gifts, and I saw there was an early run just a few minutes ago. An early run on gift giving. So let's get back to the Super Chats from this stream. And again, thank you for your patience. Douglas dropped another one in. He's a channel member and an official Voltron. He said, Bobby, did our earlier Super Chats get retained after the power loss? So just to be clear, it was not a power loss here in upstate New York. While it's rainy and wet and windy, we're fine. My connectivity is fine. StreamYard literally was not firing off for whatever reason, and it was really strange. So yes, I got your Super Chats, as you just saw. Sherry got the gift giving going today, dropping in a 5-piece. So that now brings us to 607, by the way. I'm going to continue to count where we're at just to see if 650 or 700 could be in the cards, especially if PHP shows up, or perhaps Asmodeus or Yojitsu, or gosh, last week, Chris and Tila popped in. Man, the generosity has been flowing right now. So, gosh, you scared me. You scared me. I literally just jumped on camera. Didn't expect my mother to be yelling down. Did you guys hear that? Yelling down the staircase. Goodness gracious. What do you want to? What do you want? A second act? I literally jumped.
Your voice is reverberating throughout the house, and I'm just excited.
Well, as yours is upstairs when you take a call and I walk into the back of your Zoom call. Love you lots. Tyler H. matched Sherry's gifts of 5 apiece. So we are now up to, gosh, today has really been something. My mom startling me. StreamYard doesn't want to cooperate. But at least we have Sherry and Tyler that are throwing around a bunch of gifts and generosity. Thank you, guys. So far, 10 new Channel Voltron memberships have been gifted out. And just in case you're new, this is a feature that we rolled out back in March. And essentially, when someone gift gives or when someone becomes a member, his or herself, you get access to the perks that we have. There's 3 different level tiers for membership. And if you're on the receiving end of a gift, you have a choice at the end of your first month of that 1-month membership. You can either renew or not renew. That's how it goes. We appreciate you, Sherry. We appreciate you, Tyler. God King gets us back to the Super Chats, and he writes, will Jon Gruden recant his racist remarks? You felt the need to bring up Stark's situation, but don't mention why Gruden is not coaching. What gives, Bobby? I've talked about it before, and he's been extremely sincere in his apologies. This was years ago. That's what led to the emails, is what led to his dismissal at the with the Las Vegas Raiders. So which Stark situation are you referring to, God King? Oh, the Green situation. Well, completely different situations, by the way. Mike Green's situation is completely different than John's. So, yeah, I've mentioned it before. I didn't mention it today, but now I did because of your super chat. Deshaun Davis writes, who's celebrating 3 months of channel membership, by the way. He says, Jon Gruden, a.k.a. the Ravens head coach next year. Oh, speaking that one into existence. Something will have went terribly wrong. Why would you want to, unless John wins it next year and then rides off into the sunset, if your theory were to come to fruition, Deshaun, something terrible will have went wrong. It will not end this upcoming season in the way that you would have wanted it to. Again, barring something, oh God, Tila, I said I wouldn't use that phrase, but here I am again. Barring something unforeseen. That's a Discord server inside joke, by the way. Son of a Tila, I thought I was gonna. All right, I won't inside joke you. I'll just actually go to the Discord group. Screw it. The rails are off today. Son of a. Hold on a second. Let's go to Discord. I'll show you. No secrets here. To Discord we go. 24/7 hub for conversation surrounding Baltimore sports. Constant chatter. T is typing right now. Look at this. Evan's dragging me for God knows what, even though I... Look at this. Tila says, in my Bobby Baltimore voice, sparring something unforeseen. Absolutely. Just totally dragging me through the mud. You know what I said? Fuck it. Excuse me. Excuse my French. There was a G on the end of that, by the way. Going on a cleanse. Never using that crutch phrase again this summer. Well, I guess that starts tomorrow. What are you going to do? Bobby Baltimore Discord server. Over 800 members and counting. Great place to hang out with Ravens fans, like-minded people. This stream is unreal. Sherry gets us a $20 banner. Can anything go right today? Siri, you stay over there. Sherry, let's get to your super chat. Goodness gracious. Sherry writes, so we're going to trounce all the teams. This is like the this is the 30-year-old gods that's, I think, finding a way to punish me on this Monday for having a little bit of a night. We had a night in Rye, New York. As you guys know, I golfed. I went to visit my buddy in White Plains. We golfed in Westchester County, and then we went out on the water at a tiki bar and live music and everything. It was a full day of boozing. It was a full day of fun in Rye and in the greater New York area. And while I kept it in check and hit my 6 a.m. class today and got 8 hours of sleep, there is just some gods out there are punishing me today. I have no idea why. Okay. Orange banner time for Sherry, whose super chat has been up on the screen for what probably feels like a decade. Sherry, thank you for the note. So are we going to trounce all the teams that get in our way this year? We are going to trounce all the teams that get in our way this year. I almost feel sorry for the Bills. They don't even know what's about to smack them down. Can't wait. That from Sherry. I'm laughing at the Discord. Wildwood 0601. That makes me think of the Wildwood, New Jersey boardwalk days when we would go down there. We would get a handle. This was like, gosh, this is definitely before age 21 as I out myself for underage drinking. But at like, let's say 21, we would grab our Dragonberry handle vodka handles. This is nasty. And we get into the friggin' cars and drive ungodly amount of hours from upstate New York to Wildwood, New Jersey, hang out at the boardwalk, pop into these cheap, nasty hotels and just have a freaking blast. But that's neither here nor there. Wildwood 0601, who's celebrating 3 months of channel membership. We appreciate you. He writes, I made the show live. Sup, Bobby and chat. What's going on, Wildwood? Thanks for bringing me down memory lane. Saad Blitz 34 writes, next to Q, Buchanan, Simpson, Mosley. Saad is calling for a reuniting with CJ Mosley. Doesn't want Buchanan. Doesn't want Simpson. He wants CJ Mosley. I love CJ. He's a great dude. Heather McCubbins has gifted a channel membership. Thank you, Heather. So we are up to 713 channel members on this Monday. A continued thank you for everyone's patience today. Goodness. What a day. And Dre Dog, who's celebrating 3 months of channel membership himself, writes, and the word hyperbolic. He's adding that to the vernacular or the vocabulary. He and Tila getting all over my jargon today. Thank you, guys. Thank you for the highly critical feedback day. I like it. I do like it. I do like a little bit of feedback. And while we're on this just drag Bobby day, why don't I throw up this email quickly? Because a woman named Beth was kind enough to, an hour ago, prior to the show, during what I call Power Hour, write me via email, BaltimoreRavensVault@gmail.com. I promise we're going to get to the Jaire Alexander conversation in about 2 minutes. But she wrote, Beth wrote, "Hi, Bobby. I listened to all of your show." I hope she doesn't mind this, but anyway, well, what the heck. I'll just read the part that I thought was funny. She was like, "I love your content. Sarah's fire, Bobby's candor. You guys are great. I'm a huge Ravens fan. Da, 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 da. But there is one phrase Bobby often uses that I must tell you about." She goes on to say, "You say," meaning me, quote, "until he gets his feet out from under him." The actual phrase is, quote, "gets his feet under him." And then she goes on to give me a few analogies to think about. "I hope you find this helpful, not critical. Keep up the good work. We all appreciate your effort and dedication." I love emails like these because people care. It shows Beth cares. And I care too, which is why I'm going to fix that phrase. It is now, he gets his feet under him. I often use that with like a Malachi Starks, right? Who is sipping from the fire hose of learning the terminology and the schematics and everything that Zach Orr has tasked him with in the aftermath of Ardarius Washington's Achilles tear. And so I've used that several times in recent weeks. So thank you, Beth. Gets his feet under him as, again, we dissect Bobby on this Monday. That's what we do. And I appreciate it. Tila says, "We're not dragging you. Just know we pay attention to you." I like that. Tila, congratulations and happy 1 month of channel membership. I know you've been in the Discord for a minute too, and you get the people going in there. Thank you for your membership. Thank you for your support. Thanks to everybody for being here. It's one of those days where I'm looking at 300 plus comments that are unopened and unread in the live chat. So you guys are rolling. We have over 800 concurrents on this Monday between Twitter and YouTube. Thank you for being here. If you haven't already done so, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, perhaps consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving memberships like already so many of you have done. We are now at 713. I'm sorry. Am I making up? Yes, I'm completely making up numbers. We are at 613. Oh, 613. I promise I'm okay. I really am. I'm doing just fine. 613 channel members, perhaps 650s in the cards. Perhaps there'll be a late run. And yes, we've only been going 35 minutes because of the technical difficulties at the top. So we will be going a full hour, just in case you guys were wondering. And a special shout out and thank you to our newest sponsor, Baltimore County Golf. Thank you guys for being here. It's time to talk about Jaire Alexander. Obviously, whenever his name comes up, there is a certain percentage of the Ravens flock fan base that immediately points to a couple different things. One, when healthy, one of the best, if not the best cover corners in the entire league. Two, Lamar Jackson, because they're buddies from their time at Louisville. And so today has everything to do about Jaire Alexander, because earlier this morning, the leak. The Packers are releasing Alexander today. I believe that'll be effective at 4 o'clock Eastern. So if you're watching this after that period of time, he's either active and available to any team out there, or perhaps there was a trade prior to that deadline. But as Ian Rappaport notes from NFL Network, the two parties agreed to explore a potential trade this spring, while a restructured contract was also discussed. In the end, Green Bay and Alexander move on with a clean break. Other notes, just to kind of get yourself familiarized with Jaire. As Steve notes here, he's arguably been the best corner in the NFL since being drafted in 2018. And he goes on to, in parentheses, say others better at various points, but Jaire is one of the best over that time period. But this is sort of the elephant in the room, that second part of the tweet. He's played more than 600 snaps just once in the last 4 seasons. When you go to the actual amount of games played, it's 7 total in each of the last 2 seasons. He played in 7 in 2024. He played in 7 in 2023. Okay. In 2021, he played in just 4. 2022 was the outlier where he played in 16. His last 4 seasons or so have been riddled with the injury bug. And that's something that if you're the Ravens or really any other team that could be a suitor, it has to be a part of the equation. Albert Breer noting some other pieces of the offseason that has been for Jaire. The Packers offered him a reduced, incentive-laden 1-year deal that'd make him a free agent in 2026. He turned it down, not liking the structure. Green Bay tried to trade him in March and during the draft. Those 2 pursuits also failed. So yes, Jaire Alexander is a very compelling, but also somewhat risky June free agent. So that's where things stand on Lamar's former Louisville teammate, who in the past has often sung Lamar's praises. There is clearly a friendship. There is clearly an affinity for one another. We'll get to Lamar's cryptic post in just a second, because would it be an offseason? Would it be a random day in the month of June without a Lamar Jackson cryptic post? No, it would not. The Packers and Bills held trade talks this offseason, according to Jordan Schultz, surrounding Jaire. Talks ultimately fell through and Buffalo moved on. Jordan goes on to write, it's unclear if the Bills will revisit things now that Alexander has been released, especially since they spent a first-round pick on Maxwell Hairston out of Kentucky, but they were a team that had shown real interest. From a Ravens perspective, obviously we know what they've done this offseason. The Brandon Stevens replacement on paper is Chido Awuzie, who they brought in via free agency. Tennessee is going to be paying Cheeto $7.5 million to suit up for Baltimore this upcoming season. Of course, TJ Tampa returns for a second season, his sophomore year, if you will. Jalen Armour-Davis is trying to make the team as a 53-man roster bubble player, you would think. Ardarius Washington at the safety position, of course, is dealing with that Achilles tear that's going to wipe out the majority of his 2025 season. Marlon and Nate are mainstays. You know that Marlon is the more effective, dominant, explosive player, right? Disruptive player inside in the slot. Wiggins has proven that he is very capable of being that starter, perhaps a future perennial Pro Bowler, should he continue to develop and grow. He's put on weight this offseason with that slender frame that's important given the stature. And obviously there's a couple rookies that are going to be vying for opportunity as well. And Robert Longerbeam, Bilal Cohn, and the undrafted rookie who's had a good start to this offseason program in Ruben Lowry. So, look, this is a group that has depth, but one phrase that has become all too familiar in and around Baltimore for years running now is you can never have enough corners. That's for sure. He had 2 years, $37 million remaining on his contract. He's 28 now. He earned over $72 million in 7 seasons with Green Bay. And he leaves behind the dead cap hits of $7.5 million in 2025, but Green Bay is going to be saving over 17. And then in 2026, $9.5 million. They're also saving over $17 million. So for the Packers, it's a new era. For Jaire, he's just trying to say, look, I want to prove to myself and prove to this league that I can sustain health. He can sustain performance. He's proven that. But he hasn't been able to maintain and sustain consistent health and availability. Now, while not cryptic whatsoever, this was Lamar last summer, August 22nd of 2024. Somebody hit him up. We need more Lamar and Jaire together for us Ville fans. Again, down in Louisville, Kentucky, where Lamar electrified that college program en route to a Heisman Trophy award and everything else. Well, he quote tweeted this tweet and said, "Tell him slide to the Ravens." As if to throw on his recruiting hat and get his buddy, his fellow Cardinal, and one heck of an NFL player when healthy to Baltimore. And that now brings us to the annual, it's more than annual, cryptic post in the form of this meme that made its way onto Lamar Jackson's Instagram story right around the time that the Jaire Alexander news dropped. That was 9/22. If we're playing the whole timestamp game, and that's something that you guys want to do just to kind of piece this thing together, humor me a little bit, let's get you the actual timestamp of when the Rappaport news hit the timelines. 8:07. Lamar comes in just over an hour later with this meme. And let the conversations begin. Do I think that the two are related? I can't sit here and tell you that. I have no idea. Lamar's been on record before saying that he likes to have a good time online. He likes to troll a little bit. He likes to show the playful side to him. Clearly, there is a relationship between the two. Clearly, there is a level of rapport. Do I think the Ravens... I'll say it this way. Do I think that Jaire Alexander is high atop the Ravens list of priorities right now? I wouldn't think so. Again, knowing what they've done at the cornerback position so far this offseason leads me to believe that this would be somewhat of a luxury. I also wanted to share what Brian McFarland noted just a minute ago that hit my peripheral vision on my timeline. Brian, of course, is the Ravens salary cap analyst, unofficial Ravens salary cap analyst, friend of the show. And he wrote, for those asking about Jaire Alexander, the Ravens presently have $18 million in cap space, but after taking their future expenses into account, they have around $5 million in effective/usable cap space for signings. So that 18M number is a little misleading. They do have extension/restructure options that will create additional cap space. And of course, we spoke about that just in case you missed it at the end of last week, being that there is starting to have a little bit of buzz. Eric DeCosta joined the Baltimore Baseball podcast and sort of mentioned that there have been pre-draft, post-draft, and as recently as a week or so ago, in-person negotiations about a Lamar Jackson contract extension. So that would obviously open up the floodgates in terms of flexibility from a cap perspective. But just know that at 18M number that you're seeing floating around, it's a little misleading because of what they need to do with allocation and future expenses. So it's really around 5. Moral of the story for me, when it comes to Jaire, when I weigh the risk and reward factor of it, and while they are absolutely in this win now mode, right, and essentially have been acting in such a manner for over a year now, kicking cash down the road, right, with void years and acting aggressively, I don't know if this is the best move for them, even in the short term. Certainly not the long term due to Jaire's age and Jaire's injury history. But I'm just talking about in the here and right now. You want to bring a player in that still is in his, you would think his not high earning, but there's still earnings to be made if you're Jaire. And I have no doubt that a team will take a chance. I don't believe that should be the Ravens in the coming weeks this offseason. Let me know what you think in the live chat, whether it be through chat or super chats as well. And speaking of Lamar, by the way, at the end of last week, Mike Florio does what he does best. He got under the skin of some of you within the Ravens flock fan base, as I continue to just not be able to speak the language of English today. And he, as he often does in recent years, charts and follows along with some of the decision-making that goes into Lamar's offseason. And as he tweeted, by skipping offseason workouts, Lamar has forfeited another $750,000 bonus. And he goes on to note that since 2024, he has now given up $1.5 million, something that I'm sure is very much a part of Lamar's overall plan. He is as structured and as regimented as anybody is when it comes to his offseason. He was at the first session of Ravens organized team activities, and he has been getting his work in, according to Instagram and other outlets, as he always does, in the South Florida area, along with doing other, off-field types of off-season level enjoyment activities. So do I think that there's any malice in this? Do I think that there's anything that's agenda-filled here from Mike Florio? This is just kind of sticking to what he does. This is how he covers football. He's got a law background, so he's very familiar with the contractual clauses that go into these big-time, high-level franchise quarterback deals. I do think that he was off base with some of his recent comments about an extension and about the future of Lamar in Baltimore, which I'll play for you right now if you haven't heard it yet.
Fact. Joe Flacco. He was the 18th overall pick in the 2008 draft. Okay. 2012, Super Bowl MVP, which came at the perfect time because he'd bet on himself, put him in a position to be then the highest paid quarterback in the NFL as of 2013. And the way the contract was structured, the way their cap was, a couple of years later, they had to redo the deal. And once again, he was the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. He was twice the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Okay. By 2018, when Joe Flacco was firmly entrenched as a starting quarterback of the Ravens with no thought that they would be thinking about doing anything other than riding with Joe Flacco, what did they do? They drafted Lamar Jackson. Traded back into round one and drafted Lamar Jackson. And Flacco was at some draft party in the Inner Harbor, and it was like, well, this is awkward. I'm only saying that because that was 2018, 10 years after Flacco arrived in 2008. Well, the calendar now is 2025. We're possibly 3 years away from the Ravens quietly developing an affinity for a quarterback that's entering the NFL and quietly positioning themselves to get that guy and quietly stepping away from Lamar Jackson. I mean, that's what they did to Flacco, and he won him a Super Bowl. Now, Lamar Jackson's a better quarterback.
Yeah.
But my point is this. Every player has a shelf life. Every player has a shelf life. And every team, they're always looking. As I motion toward the imaginary football machine, and for some reason it's sitting here every time I think about it. The football machine where you take out the part and you throw it aside and you plug the new one in. And the Ravens have proven over the years that they are meticulous, that they are calculated, that they are strategic. I guarantee you they're already thinking, how many more years are we going to get out of Lamar Jackson, and when do we need to start thinking about finding our next quarterback? I guarantee you they're already thinking about that.
That from Mike Florio last week on Pro Football Talk that drew the ire of a good percentage of this fan base when I tweeted it out on Friday, and deservedly so. You heard of what he had to say there in that clip. We're possibly 3 years away from the Ravens quietly developing an affinity for a quarterback that's entering the NFL and quietly stepping away from Lamar Jackson. Every player has a shelf life. I guarantee they're already thinking, how many more years are we going to get out of Lamar Jackson? And when do we need to start thinking about finding our next quarterback? Guys, I just think this is way too premature. Again, I don't think that there is anything intentionally agenda-filled about this. This is how kind of Mike Florio's mind works. Again, he is an attorney. He is a lawyer by trade, and oftentimes, sometimes his mind immediately goes to the financial side of things. This is way too premature to be having this conversation. Lamar's 28. He's not 38. And he's going to be going up against a guy, as of last week, that's 41 twice a season in Aaron Rodgers for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Lamar is in the prime of his career. And while 3 years in terms of NFL length feels like 30 years anywhere else, right? Just given the magnitude, given the longevity that's required, given the maintenance that it's required to be an NFL player, I get it. A lot can change over the course of 3 years. But to sit here and say that the Ravens could be moving on from somebody who essentially was gypped of a third MVP title a year ago and is an ascending player in just about every single category and wins over 60%, well over 60% of the games in which he starts, is ludicrous. The Ravens have acted appropriately in recent years with the way that they've built their quarterback room around him. Maybe not Josh Johnson. I would probably handpick several other backups that were available on the open market before bringing him in. But perhaps they took a step forward in that department this offseason by bringing in one of the most experienced, proven winners in Cooper Rush. And when I say proven, it's a small sample size. But for backups, his win percentage, go check it out. He got a lot of opportunity in Dallas. So that's an insurance piece. They went for Snoop back earlier on in Lamar's career. You would think that some of that had to do with the friendship that Tyler Huntley and Lamar had, and some of the style, right? Stylistically speaking, it was a decent fit, schematically, what they were doing in the Greg Roman era. But we all know what this team looks like and how it acts with and without Lamar. And bottom line is, prior to Derrick Henry, I think you could argue, you could absolutely make the argument that with Lamar, they were obviously a playoff team. Without Lamar, I don't know if they would have been sniffing the postseason. I don't know if that's necessarily the case now that Derrick's here. If Lamar were to go down, God forbid, knock on wood. But his value knows no bounds, and he's going to be paid like it. And so I just thought the conversation was very premature. What the conversation should be is what those figures are going to be inevitably when this extension gets done that keeps Baltimore, and I should say Lamar, in Baltimore for the foreseeable future. Right now, in terms of highest paid quarterbacks, according to Over the Cap, Lamar is at the 10th overall position among QBs. 52 flat. Dak Prescott leads the way at 60 flat. Okay, players in front of Lamar now. This is just how the quarterback market works over the years, right? Lamar got his done and resets the market, and then everybody follows him. Justin Herbert is above Lamar. Brock Purdy is above Lamar. Jared Goff, Tua, Jordan Love, Trevor Lawrence, and of course the top three, Dak, Josh, and Joe. Lamar deserves to be atop this list. I think he will be before it's all said and done. I have no idea whether or not they're going to get an extension done between now and week 1 in early September. But all I know is that when you look at the way the back end of this contract is structured, and you're Eric DeCosta, there is no way that you can move forward and continue to field competitive teams should this extension not get done. His salary cap hit is north of $43 million for 2025. They're making it work, but it's been tight. And obviously tough decisions have to be made as a result. In 2026, that number would skyrocket from 43.5 to 74.5. It's got to get done. A new deal has to get done. The sooner the better. You know it's going to be complicated because of Lamar's representation, meaning the guy that looks himself in the mirror every single day. That's him. Lamar is his own representation. And so this will be a little bit more complicated, a little bit more complex, a little bit more cumbersome, and probably a little bit more dragged on than it typically is. But we all know where Lamar is supposed to be. And ultimately, I think we all know where he will be. And that's atop this list, deservedly so. One other note before I get back to Super Chats. It was related to Mike Florio's comments on the offseason workouts that have been missed, which are voluntary. But Lamar's absences have cost him $1.5 million since 2024. Now, have some of those absences led to other ventures and other top opportunities for him off the field or with whatever he has going on endorsement-wise? I'm sure. And a lot of that just has to do with, we know how Lamar goes this time of year. He spends very little time in the Owings Mills area, aside from mandatory minicamp and training camp. We know that he has a life in South Florida. He's got a life outside of football. And so while Mike tracks this, just know, as Brian McFarland noted, that $750,000 credit for this, right, that he's forfeiting from this year's workouts that were missed, will not have any effect on the Ravens' 2025 cap, but will be a credit on the team's 2026 cap, just as they received a $750,000 credit on their 2025 cap for Lamar not earning his 2024 workout bonus. So there's really nothing negative that comes from this. And by the way, attendance is out for today's third session, voluntary organized team activities, and Lamar is not present. Kyle Hamilton, not present. Many others. Zay Flowers, DeAndre Hopkins, Ronnie Stanley, Nnamdi Madubuike, so on and so forth. Not present, not a surprise, and not something that is significant. You're not going to hear me pounding the table for Lamar to be at voluntary organized team activities this time of year with how much he's mastered the system, with how much he's doing away from the field, right? And guess what? His head coach echoes exactly that.
I'm not taking any position on it. It's judging it, whatever. Lamar, the day he was out here, played great. I could see he was in great shape. Threw the ball great, made the reads, knew the offense excellent in an excellent kind of way. I thought he was fantastic. And when he comes back and practices, when that happens, I expect him to play at that level. That's what you measure. You measure for any player, it's how they play. I'm not measuring, really the attendance. I mean, it's a voluntary camp, so I'm not measuring that. I mean, I love being out here, and I think all the players do. And when Lamar's out here, I promise you, he loves being out here. You could see it when he was out here. So he's my guy. I love him, and I can't wait to just get into this season and get going.
It's all that really needs to be said. There you have it. Mandatory minicamp a couple weeks out. Lamar will be there. Training camp, a little over a month and a half from right now. Let's get back to Super Chats. Appreciate you guys for being with me on this Monday. Please like the video if you haven't already done so. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel Voltron or gift-giving a membership. DreDog679 says, Bobby, show the video I dropped in Discord. My daughter's celebrating. Just know she dances like her mom. I got way more rhythm. What is going on in Discord right now? And where did DreDog leave this video? I just got a message in Discord, and this is why I love Discord. They wrote, Bobby, message me if you're looking for more possible golf sponsorship opportunities. Yeah. Dre, I have no idea where this video is, bro. But let me know where you dropped it. Appreciate the super chat. Manny pulling out that Mexican peso. Manny diving deep into his bag of generosity the last couple of days. He doesn't even owe me this bet, by the way. The bet he's already... We had an Aaron Rodgers bet, and I may or may not have won the bet. And Manny held his ground, or I should say, held up the bargain. Didn't held up the bargain. God, speak English, bro. Manny ended up holding up his end of the bargain. I know I can speak this language. I know I can do it. Manny writes, Bobby, is your internet from New York or Mexico City? LOL. What should the next bet be for this upcoming season? Probably something Tylan Wallace related. Let's do it. If you know, you know. Let's do a little something Tylan Wallace related. Hit me up about it. DreDog says, never mind, Bobby. I couldn't put it on Discord. It's on Twitter. If anybody wants to see it, it's at DreDog679. All right, I'm going to check it out after the show. You guys do the same. Saad Blitz 34 is celebrating 3 months of channel membership, and he writes, Ramsey or Jaire Alexander. Okay, so Jalen Ramsey or Jaire Alexander is going to be a 1-year deal. Alexander is the better option because Green Bay has to pay him 17 M's. So you could get him on a Russ-style 1-year deal. Maybe. Possibly. Kind of already doing that with Cheeto in a sense, that Tennessee's going to be paying 7.5 M's for him to suit up elsewhere. I have Horace Torres writes, happy birthday, Kimberly. Kimberly, happy birthday to you. I must have missed that since I can't multitask these days with the live chat and everything else that I've juggling. Is it Tisha or Tisha? How about TB until you let me know? Tisha or Tisha? Let me know. I mean, if it was Natasha, Tisha. Probably Tisha, right? Tisha? It's got to be Tisha. TB has gifted a channel membership. So we are now up to 614 official channel Voltrons. You guys are awesome. If you haven't already done so, you want to go check it out, click the join button. You can click the link that's included in the show notes and consider becoming a official Voltron. 614 and counting. What an awesome number. Thanks, Tisha. Thanks, TB. Appreciate you. On to Super Chats we go. And look who's been getting it. The complimentary duo of Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman getting some in South Florida. Meeting up together. Getting a little workout in. Fresh off Rashad's extension. Speaking of that extension, Jeremy Fowler reported on how it ultimately got done in Baltimore.
What led to his contract extension was that he was almost traded during this offseason because he went to the Ravens, wanted a new deal. They essentially said no, but they gave him permission to seek a trade. So he went out on the open market, talked to teams, and I was told there were several involved or had interest. Dallas Cowboys, New England Patriots, Green Bay Packers. So he saw he had a market. Yeah. The Ravens saw that and said, okay, we'll just pay you instead. We won't trade you.
Okay, that from Jeremy Fowler at the end of last week. And we knew about Dallas, but we didn't know about New England. We didn't know about Green Bay. There was some interest out there for Rashad Bateman coming off a year where he had over 750 yards receiving, 9 touchdowns. He was a threat in the postseason. He was a reliable pass catcher, aside from, yes, I know, I feel like I have to say this every time, so you guys don't drag me. But yes, he was on the wrong end of a couple interceptions that shouldn't have been for what was otherwise almost a nearly clean year for Lamar when it comes to ball security. But Bate has been that guy. He was that guy last year. And there were several teams that saw him being that guy, or perhaps competed against him while he was being that guy, and decided to check in on it. And ultimately that interest, that market, as Jeremy Fowler notes, perhaps got things going a little bit and sparked that deal, second consecutive contract extension for as many in the last year, right? And so I don't think there's much of a surprise about what Fowler is saying. I think when we saw that Dallas report earlier on in the offseason, and then all of a sudden we saw Rashad Bateman's cryptic tweet from earlier this offseason, which was simply put, know your worth, essentially saying, hey, I don't like what's on the table here, then it all kind of starts to match up. So, hey, you put on tape what he was able to last year, you're going to have suitors. And that was what happened to Rashad Bateman. And ultimately, that interest looks like it got things going at the negotiating table between the two parties. And now, oh, what a sight to see it. Wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2. And maybe that'll be interchangeable this year. Who knows? Based on what Bate put forth last year. Both of these guys are healthy. Both of these guys are willing to meet. And both of these guys are getting training in together down in the hot heat in South Florida. Here's Zay and Bate.
Ooh, next one. Ooh, next one. Next one. Next one. Yes, sir. Next one. Next one. Next one. Yes, sir. Yeah.
I see the live chat, by the way, too. The Bate in Florida. While I can't confirm that this is Florida, it sure looks like it. And I think that Bate is spending part of his offseason. This sure, to me, looks like it's South Florida. I could be wrong. I don't want to. I'm not sure where it is, to be honest with you. But these guys are getting it. I mean, does it really matter where it is? No. It's the fact that these guys are getting work in together is really what it comes down to. Agility work, cone work. watching Zay is special, isn't it? Watch him just kind of glide. And I feel like I need to unmute this again so we can listen to what comes, listen to his vocals as he's cutting. He cuts with such a level of intensity.
Next one. Next one. Next one. Next one. Next one. Yes, sir. Next one. Next one. Next one. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Also important to know, too, of course, that both of these guys obviously left last year, ended the season not at 100% physically. So the fact that these guys here in early June are getting their work in without any kind of limitations is just a positive moving forward. So there they are. You got to love it. I don't know. You guys think it's in South Florida? Some of you care about the geography. More quick hits. Katon Mitchell says he clocked a 22.4 mile an hour speed a couple weeks ago. He said he's overcome the mental challenge of coming back from his significant knee injury in December of 2023. And as Jameson noted here on X, he told local reporters last week, I'm out there like normal, just being confident in my knee. He also mentioned that his goal, one of his goals, is to be the primary return specialist this upcoming season. So, dating back to December of 2023, really forced him to spend a lot of last year in recovery mode. Just didn't feel like he had that pep in his step. Usage was down. But now you get a full offseason of rehab, and you're clocking yourself at 22.4 miles an hour. How about it? The afterthought in what's become a stacked and high-profile running back room, right? The backfield is high profile. And because of Keaton going down, and because of the signing of Derrick Henry, and because of the steadiness and versatility that Justice Hill provides, perhaps lost in the shuffle of all that dialogue is Katon Mitchell, who can absolutely be used in so many effective ways, whether it is trickery, whether it's misdirection, whether it's in the return game, whether it's in the screen game. He will wreak havoc. And just having to account for him in the backfield pays dividends for the Ravens. So a good stuff and a good step in his ongoing recovery timetable and route back from that serious ACL injury from a year plus ago. As far as Aaron Rodgers goes, he will be a Pittsburgh Steeler now. And he was in the team's training facility last week on the 7th. And he signed a 1-year, $13.65 million contract. It includes $10 million guaranteed and has a maximum value of 19.5 M's. It includes $5.85 million in terms of playtime and team performance incentives. So, in other words, for a 41-year-old future Hall of Famer who was on the back nine, perhaps approaching the 18th green of his career, not a bad monetary value, especially when you stack him up against his peers. But Aaron will be a Pittsburgh Steeler. The long, drawn-out offseason conversations no longer. And at 41, the Ravens will be facing him twice down the latter half. Once in December, once in January. AFC North, obviously, backloaded this schedule. Should be really interesting. And I suspect that they will be close to a 10-win team. I'm thinking either 10-7 or 9-8. And potentially that's good enough for a wild card spot. Maybe not in this division. Cincinnati's going to have something to say about that. I don't think Cleveland will be anywhere around that number. But it's going to be a lot of fun watching Pittsburgh, Cincy, and Baltimore duking it out. And for the Ravens, they're just trying to protect and honor that divisional title. that they've brought in the last few years. I know the second I bring up Aaron Rodgers, I get caught and thrown into the fire. Pitchforks come out and all. How about KVN, man? He's starting a 72-hour water fast. Today's the 9th. This was at 6 o'clock on the 8th. His last meal was at 6 o'clock Mountain Time last night. For anyone that wants to join in, let's be great. How about it? I love the back and forth with Eric Weddle, the former Raven. E-Dub hit him up and is like, yo, did this a month ago. Let me know your thoughts. KVN writes, nice. I did it a couple months ago as well. Felt like day 2 was pretty rough for me. Day 3 was a wonderful spiritual experience. Felt awake and alert, ready to feel that again. Wish I could have kept going because once you hit the 3rd day, it's looking up. If you go into this thread, he literally, everybody that's mentioning him in it, he responded to a bunch. And I was really interested because, again, this is 72 hours of only drinking water. But somebody was asking him, like, is coffee allowed? He's like, no, water only, salt if you get headaches. What was another one? Oh, somebody was like, what are the main benefits of it? He's like, I lost some weight, clearing of the gut, mental clarity, and a spiritual experience. You feel super clean when you're done. I kind of want to try this. Another guy was like, yo, are you just going to stick to water or add in any electrolytes or bone broth? He's like, I just do water. I might add salt potentially. I'm like fascinated by this stuff. Just like life challenges that make you feel like a better person, or in this case, a cleaner person. First of all, 72 hours is a long time to not consume food. How much water are you consuming over 72 hours? How many gallons is he about to down over the next 72 hours? Because he also went on to add, when someone asked, like, are you still doing your normal training regimens and conditioning? And he's like, yes. Evan's like, I can barely go 72 minutes. You're a goddamn chef. No wonder why. We won't hold it against you. You're literally around or in food every single day of your life. But he was like, yeah, no, I'm it's not like I'm just sitting around waiting. Like, he's literally going about his day normally, training normally. Insane. I think it's fascinating. I kind of want to try it. 72 hours. He's not even 24 hours in yet. Best of luck to KVN. Good stuff. Tisha writes, it is pronounced Tisha, Bobby. You got it eventually with a golf clap. Thank you very much, Tisha. And thank you for gift giving. Thank you so much. Our patrons of the day, Greg McCarthy and Michelle Spate. Thank you both for believing in what we're building. This is your monthly shout out. We appreciate all the support that you give us through Patreon. And if you guys are interested in doing the same and joining that great community of folks, it's patreon.com/RavensVault podcast to do so. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Michelle. A special thank you to Baltimore County Golf for the opportunity to partner up for the month of June. I am really excited about this partnership, and I can't wait to continue to tell you about them. You can follow them on Instagram at Baltimore County Golf right here. And I just want to note quickly, as I mentioned during the read earlier on, that if you sign up for the Advantage card that they have available to you, $40 is going to get you greens fee and golf shop discounts, 16-day advanced tee time reservations, $20 in coupons, access to Twilight Times 1 hour earlier than the general pub, loyalty rewards points on everything from greens fees to food and beverage. And you can go to BaltimoreGolfing.com, which is included in the show notes and in the live chat right now in the pinned comment to learn more. Thanks to Baltimore County Golf for the opportunity to partner up. And thanks to all of you for a fantastic Monday. No one more thing today, but speaking of Instagram, my one more thing will be dropping at some point in the early part of this week. You guys know that I've been doing some lifestyle influencing. I don't even know if it is influencing, but lifestyle Instagram reel postings with my mom, having some fun about dating, decluttering, things of that nature. Well, last night I went to, you know what? Screw it. This is my one more thing. And if you want to get us to 650, we're at 614 right now. Any of you that might be feeling generous on this Monday. 614 channel members. You Voltrons. We love you guys. You can click join to become a channel member today. That'll also lead you to the option of potentially gift giving should you so choose. My one more thing for you today on the fly is what this week's Instagram reel post will be about. It's about my dear father, Francis. I'm sure he's listening to this right now. He's probably freaking happy as hell. He is 62. And he is of the belief that if I were to have a kid tomorrow, let's hope that's not going to happen, that he might struggle to get to one of their graduations. And my response is, get your you-know-what together. I want him to lose 50 plus pounds between now and June 7th of 2026. My sister, his daughter's wedding. Wedding in Cincinnati, which was just booked the other day. Congratulations to Tori and Francisco. Really looking forward to a Cincinnati-based wedding because of his side of the family in terms of the geography of it. So with all that in mind, he has often, whether it's playful or not, kind of gotten on me about the dating game and some of my antics and my decision-making and how picky I am and him potentially not being around for grandkids. Like, it's a good banter back and forth that we'll often have. Whenever we're out in public together, it's just a natural conversation starter at single and 30 that when you walk into an establishment like we did yesterday, an awesome live music spot in upstate New York, and there's a couple cute girls that are popping around or whatever, immediately we start kind of scanning the room being like, oh, who's going to be the best candidate or best fit for Bobby, which is just, maybe that sounds creepy to you, but there really is nothing creepy about it. We just have fun with it. And sometimes it ends up blossoming into either him going up to them and introducing himself and completely embarrassing all of us, or it's just one of those like things that we theorize and nothing ever happens for him. Anyway, on this occasion, we showed up, enjoyed our live music, and then went to sort of like a speakeasy bar afterwards. And we walk in and he's like, man, I hope that Austin is here today. I was like, who is Austin? He's like, well, she was your year at one of our rival high schools in upstate New York. And a month ago, I came in and we started chatting at the bar. And I told her that she should marry you. She should, you two would be a great fit. I said, so you are pimping out your son at the bar after reffing. His side hustle is reffing basketball. And he said, no. I was like, okay, that's what you're doing though. You're pimping out your son. And all of a sudden I was mortified because this girl and I definitely have mutual friends. We're both originally from upstate New York. She is a side hustle bartender in a town called Clifton Park. And she will be the main focus of this week's Instagram reel because my father goes out in an effort to recruit the future Mrs. Trossett and stick his neck out there and communicate with these people. So we walked in yesterday and sure as you know what, she is right there behind the bar. And I sit down and she comes over and doesn't necessarily remember Francis at first glance. That prompts him to say, you remember me? It's like, my dad, she probably deals with 60-plus-year-old men like you every single day of her life. Can we please be different? And she like is processing it for a second and then looks at me and looks at him and she goes, is this your son? We start chatting. We're having a good time. And then she ended up totally leaning into the whole thing. And we were filming and I'm going to put together and splice together a whole Instagram reel. It was absolutely hysterical. Her coworker, fellow bartender, who was super cute too. And they're both cute. They were both cute. But the bartender, her friend, was like totally all in on it. And I started to think to myself, like, what is going on right now? I'm just kind of thinking this was a little bit of choreography. We're having fun, parody type thing. But maybe, just maybe, the future Mrs. Trossett lives in Clifton Park, New York, and I've just been living under a rock and Francis went to town for me. Or maybe it was a completely embarrassing, over-the-top, unnecessary interaction. I'll let you guys be the judge of it when you can check out that video that drops later this week at Bobby Baltimore on Instagram. You guys know the drill. And Francis, stay doing you. Stay doing you. Thank you so much for all the effort that you put into making my life complicated. I love you. Katie has gifted a Voltron channel membership, so we are now at 615. Thank you, Katie. And thanks to all of you for an awesome, wide-ranging Monday show that included a little bit of technical difficulties because of StreamYard off the top. I'm sorry I was a little bit behind. I still gave you almost 90 minutes worth of content, and I hopefully you guys enjoyed my one more thing. She is not taller than me, but she could help change the Trossett lineage, by the way. Shout out Austin with a Y. You'll see more on that coming up. And if you haven't already done so, you can connect with me on Instagram this offseason because apparently I no longer produce football content. I produce dating content with my mother. I produce decluttering content with my mother. And what about Robbie Baltimore calling his shot? Thinks the Ravens are going to go 10-7. Fat chance. But Robbie thinks so. Shout out Robbie, my mechanic through Preston Automotive Group. Go check it out, guys. I appreciate you for humoring me. Please like the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Hit that notification bell. Sarah will be back 1 week from today. And my, oh my, she has been enjoying herself. She and her daughter, London, are crushing it in Switzerland. The posts have been amazing. She's even been a lot more active on Twitter. I got to tell you, all right, I think I'd like to hold myself responsible here. I've continued to pressure her over the years to post more and not overshare because I don't want, she's a private person, but I do like when she starts to sort of lean into it. And she is this vacation. It's been a lot of fun. So she's private on Instagram. She keeps that pretty private to people that she actually knows in person. But on Twitter, she's been sharing some content. And I'm really, really thrilled that they've had a chance to enjoy their time and enjoy the country of Switzerland, which is just electrifying. Their posts have been breathtaking. So go check her out, as always, at SG Ellison on X. Shoot her a little note. We miss her, and we can't wait to get her back on Monday, the 16th. For Baltimore County Golf, our brand new sponsor, one that we are thrilled to be working with, for Sarah Ellison, for her daughter, London, who are crushing it out over across the pond, in Europe. I'm Bobby Trossett signing off from this Monday Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. I'll catch up with you under 23 hours. There is a press conference at 2:30, less than an hour from right now as we speak in real time. I will have a Bobby Baltimore live stream video for you later on this afternoon, and I will catch you tomorrow. That is Tuesday the 10th at 12 noon Eastern. Thank you guys so much. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and as always, Voltrons, thank you for spending some time with us here inside the vault. I hope you're getting ready for our merch line drop. It's coming, and you're going to hear all about it pretty shortly in the coming weeks. Talk to you guys soon. Thank you.